Hi everyone, Richard here at Calvin Wazoo with another video. And it's Monday. I haven't done a video on a Monday in a long time. So, whatever, I didn't feel like doing any over the weekend. And I've been preparing for these different threads. So yeah, today I'm doing folk tag. And it took me a while to really go through and pick appropriate selections for the long list that Mazzy put together for this vinyl tag. And like Mazzy said in his video, the vinyl tag is, part of what is called the vinyl community, and I am a member, so to speak, of the vinyl community, interact with a lot of the people who call themselves part of the VC. So many of my subscribers may not know about the VC, and we do things like this. And there are a couple of these tags that are going on, and I'm going to be doing this one. I need to get started because, yeah, he's got a lot of questions. And it took me a while to go through my folk collection. So there's a little bit of fudging going on for sure, where I might be using some bluegrass because that's kind of folk music. And even maybe a little on the countryside, but not too country, maybe more Western. So anyway, let's get started. So in general, folk music, there's been a lot of a discussion with many of the replies to this thread dealing mostly with British and American, North American folk heroes, legends, icons. It is most heavily in that sphere a venue for protest music, for agitation. And folk music, is a tradition throughout the world that may or may not be associated with rebellion or protest or highlighting injustices and things like that, which it's more commonly associated to some degree in North America and particularly Britain for Europe. Really, folk music is roots music. So some of the examples that I'm going to be offering are going to probably qualify more in that genre. So anyway, let's get started. I'm 3.5 minutes in here. The first one is a pre-1950 folk record. And, not too long ago, I picked this up. These are the original recordings of Woody Guthrie. He's an American folk legend. These recordings were from 1940 to 1946. So a lot of good songs in here. Good information on the back as well. Some historical information about Woody Guthrie. Of course, he wrote This Land Is Your Land, which I think ought to be the United States national anthem because it is more meaningful and universal to people, and it's a hell of a lot easier to sing than the Star-Spangled Banner. All right, next one is an archival folk or field recording. So I kind of, blended the rules a little bit and kind of went with some world music. This is an album, it's entitled Uganda 1, all right, and it's part of the Music of Africa series. So this contains traditional Ugandan folk music played on traditional Ugandan musical instruments, which you see here. These are the instruments that were used to produce the music. And, unlike other folk music, which, at least if we think of North American centric, it does tend to be protest oriented and anti-government often. Whereas the songs in here sing praises to the king. So they were recorded. Let me see if I can find that quickly. Probably should have looked it up. Let's see. This was released in 1972, but I think the recordings are from times much earlier than that. When there was a king ruling in Uganda. Sorry, I cannot readily find when they were recorded, but I'm thinking it was in the 50s. All right, next one. A folk record that was recorded after 2010. And this one, I'll go with Johnny Flynn, Alarum. I was so happy when I found this. I have it on CD. I think it was released in 2015. Great music. I love Johnny Flynn. Great songs. Great songs. Okay. Favorite man. I decided to, I can go with Bob Dylan, as a favorite male folk singer. But then I thought, I'm going to be using him for some other things. So I decided to go with Jim Croce. And this is a greatest hits album. It's all I have, and it's sufficient for my needs. But Jim Croce, great American folk singer, songwriter who died much too soon. And then a favorite female artist, I'm going with Joni Mitchell. And this is The Ladies of the Canyon, which of course has Woodstock on it and Big Yellow Taxi. So Joni Mitchell. Next is a duo or trio. And I'm going with the original Tyrannosaurus Rex. So this was my people were fair and had sky in their hair, but now they're content to wear stars on their brows. And this is kind of a double release. The original was a single album, but it's amazing. Guy on acoustic guitar and congas. Just amazing stuff. Now, an acoustic folk album, and I'm going with this one, Leo Kottke, a 6 and 12 string guitar. This is the Tacoma Records. I remember first hearing this one back when I was in high school, and I'm not sure if Tacoma qualifies as a folk label, because that's going to be one of the questions. And I could only pick two, so maybe this will be my third, was a Tacoma label. But anyway, great. I love it's all instrumental on, like the 6-string or a 12-string acoustic guitar. But the songs are so amazing. They really do convey a story. All right, next one is an electric folk. I kind of fudged on this one. I went with Villagers, Becoming a Jackal. And this is Connor J. O'Brien. He's kind of a one-person singer, songwriter, and performer. So with the studio records, he pretty much is playing everything. And then when he travels or performs live, he's either just playing by himself with a couple musicians, or he'll have other, if he needs more musicians, he'll have them along. Really wonderful stuff. Irish folk singer, songwriter. A little bit on the electric side. His Awayland release, which came after this one, is a little bit more electric, but if you haven't checked out Villagers, you really should. A live folk. I'm going to go with the Country Gentlemen live in Japan. And of course, I had to get a Japanese pressing of this. So yeah, this is bluegrass, but the I haven't played it in a while. I haven't separated things, but you know they were known to be a little more progressive in terms of bluegrass. They cover Bob Dylan on here. They play which ones are the Bob Dylan songs? Well, they play Country Roads, but that's not Bob Dylan. And Cripple Creek. And they do play a Beatles song. They play Yesterday. And I can't find the one. I thought they did a Dylan song. But anyway, yeah, they were known as much more progressive than many other bluegrass groups. So the Country Gentlemen, live in Japan. All right. Now we come to the three folk labels. All right, so Tacoma Records, remember that one. The other ones, I'm going to go with from the old and in the way with Round Records. You know, I'm going to call that a folk label. I don't know if it really is. And then we've got David Grissman, the Rounder Records. So we're talking about Rounder Records. All right, so another folk label, probably more bluegrass than folk, but whatever. All right, a protest song. And one that I really like, I'm picking, that's a part of the Woodstock soundtrack, and it's Joan Baez, Joe Hill. She's got drugstore truck driving man on here as well. But yeah, Joe Hill, great protest song in the folk genre. Then we come to Blacklisted Artists. And I wasn't really able to do this one because I really, I don't know of any blacklisted musical artists. I know of plenty of blacklisted screenwriters and novelists. But so I changed this one to show a non-North American or non-European folk artist. And one that I have is Savuka, who is, I think, Peruvian. And this is some really, really nice music. It took me a while to find this record at a affordable price, which I'm talking about less than $50, but I didn't find one. Now, I'm also going to say this, Juluka, all right, which is a South African group by Johnny Clegg and some other musicians. And he was kind of blacklisted. They wouldn't play his music on the radio because he was a white guy dressing up. They would all dress up like Zulu warriors, and they would play traditional Zulu music, etc. And this was during apartheid in South Africa, so he was kind of blacklisted, and he was playing the traditional folk style, of the Zulu and the other clans in South Africa. All right, next one, a British folk artist. One that I really, really like is Jake Bugg. This is his debut album, and so, eponymously titled. Great singer-songwriter. Came to Chicago, but I missed him. And then we got, a British folk band. And I went with the Pentangle in this album, Basket of Light, mostly because of Sally Go Round the Roses. I remember hearing that for the first time on a when Warner Brothers had those Lost Leaders, which were like compilations of different artists that were on the Warner label. And, it would be in the inner sleeve, and you sent them $1 and you would get a double album for $1, postage included. And that song, Sally Go Round the Roses, was on one of them. I can't remember which one. The Big Ball, maybe, which I have. But it might even have been one of the Zappa ones. He released a couple like that. But anyway, finally found that. Very nice music, very good. Really enjoy it. Now this one, a folk rock album. Well, I'm going to go with Rubber Soul. All right? I mean, this was, and unfortunately the sticker kind of blacks out George. But anyway, this record, if I'm not mistaken, pretty much was inspired after they had a meeting with Bob Dylan. And they started writing songs that were a little deeper. The next one is a folk cover by a rock band. Now, what I have it on CD, but it's a homemade burn CD. It was not on the CD, the store-bought CD that I have of this artist. But the cover song, it's a Bob Dylan song. And on this one, it's the song Mississippi. And the artist that I'm thinking about who did the cover is Sheryl Crow. Now, I'm not exactly sure if Bob Dylan specifically wrote it for her and then she took it and recorded it, and then he recorded and released Mississippi on this one, on Love and Theft, or if it was the other way around. But anyway, the story is that, he contacted Sheryl and said, hey, I got a great song for you, just for you, and he let her have it. All right, a Dylan cover by someone else. And I'm going to go with When the Ship Comes In on Arlo Guthrie's Hobo's Lullaby. This was one of my favorite folk albums for such a long time. I got it when I was in high school, perhaps even earlier. I'm looking at, it was 1972, so I would have been 14. So yeah, that's high school. I would have been about a freshman. Yeah, really, really love that song, and I really, really love that album. All right, we're getting down to the wire here. It might even be not under 20 minutes. Another folk cover by a rock group. I thought about this one for a while, going backwards to question 17. And I decided I would go with this, and the song, The Pusher, which was by Hoyt Axton. Now, granted, Hoyt Axton's more country than folk, but I think it works. That's my answer. All right, so favorite record cover of a folk musician, I'm going to go with this one, Michelle Shocked, Short, Sharp, Shocked. Just what an incredible cover. And I do want to point out that this is a San Francisco police officer, not a Chicago police officer. So, but yeah, what a good album, really good album. And definitely what a hell of a cover. I skipped one, folk group album. And I only have a CD of this. It's the Haunted Wind Chimes, Out with the Crow. And I picked this CD up. They were gifts because I was attending a wedding. The daughter of a friend of mine who I've known since junior high school. I was his daughter's godfather, and went to the wedding, and Daddy had some bucks, so he got this band to play at the wedding reception. I think this is the only thing they ever released on CD. They're on Bandcamp, but I don't think you can get hard copies. You'll have to get digital. But they are on Bandcamp. You can check them out, and you can check this recording out on Bandcamp as well. Yeah, The Haunted Wind Chimes, and it's Out with the Crow. All right, so that was number 7 for a folk group album. Now I'm coming back to the final question, which is a favorite folk song. And, it could have been an Arlo Guthrie song. It could have been a Jake Bugg song. It could have been a Johnny Flynn song. It could have been a Crosby, Stills, and Nash song. But it's going to be a Bob Dylan song. And from this album here, Bringing It All Back Home. And the song is The Gates of Eden. That is one of the most powerful, beautiful, melodic songs that I can think of. And it is truly, truly one of my favorites. My favorites from Bob Dylan. In fact, side 2 of this record, you got Mr. Tambourine Man, then Gates of Eden, and then It's All Right, Ma, and then It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. I mean, what a side 2 to an already really great album. But yes, The Gates of Eden, that's got to be my favorite folk song. And if it's not a folk song in your mind, well, it's a folk song in my mind. Well, that's Folk Tag. And, took me a little longer than 20 minutes to go through this list, which isn't too bad considering how long it took me to pull all these records. Now it's time to go put them away. But always remember to pray for the people inside your head, for they won't be there when you're dead.